Look at that, Marco.
Look at that. Streaming live
We're
from an
streaming live.
undisclosed
All right.
location. Again,
Technology at its finest.
I think people have found out where we're streaming from by now. It's 3 days
think
that we're
so.
doing this thing. 4
I
days.
know. Yeah, and a busy day today as well. And yeah, it seems like everybody wanted to chat on Thursday. I don't know what's up with that.
It's the last day of the show, and people are just letting it go. I remember that feeling, Sean. Do you remember that feeling?
Of letting it go?
Yeah, I'll be like, okay, we made it. No, now we're
Well,
gonna
there's that
drive
too,
back. We're gonna podcast streaming from the car, talk to the
Yeah.
cows, have some lunch
You know,
on the way back.
I have to be honest, and it may sound silly, but I watched that video many times over.
It was fun.
The 2019 recap was that was a good video. I'll
was
post a
good.
link to it in the show notes for this for those who missed it. But I think it's on the RSA coverage page for this year too.
Yeah,
but,
I think it is.
We're kicking off today from RSA Conference 2020. Some of us in San Francisco, not me. Others not in San Francisco. That's me and Marco. But we're there in spirit. And I'm thrilled to kick this one off with two good friends, Rock and Russell. We may be joined by others that are part of a group that I'm fortunate to be part of, even if I'm not as active as some of the others. Lean CISOs.
The lean CISOs.
The lean CISOs. And I'll just briefly say that this group is about, this is my take on it anyway, and Russell and Rock may chime in with some additional points, but it's about being mentally and physically healthy so you can be healthy in life, both at work and at home. And so that's making sure there's time to get out and run or lift weights or do the squats or whatever it is physically that makes you feel good. Taking time to think and read and listen to things that also make you feel good, which then, of course, helps you in your personal life and hopefully do better at work. And I know we've talked a lot in the group about processes and tools and things to help us be more organized, which obviously takes a lot of stress. And I was fortunate enough to lead a panel at the Rocky Mountain Information Security Community Conference with the group, and I'll put a link to that for those who are interested. There's much more to what this group is doing, and they shared a lot of that in that conversation. It's not about that today, even though I took about 3 minutes introducing the group. It's very important and very special to me, and I'm thrilled to have Rock and Russell on.
So let's hear from them.
Yeah.
Is that true what Sean just said, or do I have to double check that with you guys?
As you can tell, this lean CISO is maybe a little bit more of a chubby CISO, but at heart, fundamentally, Sean is absolutely dead on.
All right. Well, we'll learn
it's a
more
good thing
about
we didn't
that.
get tattoos as well.
That's right.
There you go. The lean CISO tattoo right here. Okay. I'll
right.
think about that. Let's talk about RSA. This is why we're connecting. You guys are, for us, all the guests, the eyes and the ears on the floor, as Sean said. We're not there, but we're sharing.
Russell's actually on the floor.
Literally, I can see that.
Yes.
So what's going on there? How is to be back after a couple of years of weirdness? Let's say it that way. Rock.
It is actually pretty fantastic to see friends who I haven't seen in a couple of years, meet people in person for the first time, like Russell, who, we've been friends for the last couple of years, but never had a chance to meet in person. And also for me to meet clients for the first time face-to-face. Some clients for the first time face-to-face who I've been working with ad nauseum in, little 2x2 Zoom box. So the theme for me this year is, like I was telling Russell and I had breakfast this morning, and I was telling Russell that the theme, I could have gotten away without a pass. Now I would have probably had a little bit of FOMO, but it was all about meeting people and the quality of time with those people versus just trying to get like back to back meetings from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. No, this was much more about just reconnecting with people.
And Russell, all about the breakfast.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I've got a new place to hang out with my good friend Rock. It's interesting, this idea of what do we expect here for those who are able to and willing to, and companies allow them to be here. I think it's just been amazing. Rock mentioned FOMO, the fear of missing out. Maybe it's the joy of missing out. I have a joy in the time I spent with Rock versus whatever the program says I could have done or learned while here on site. Now I'm a better person because we got to spend even more time together, kind of unexpected. Hey, let's go have breakfast. I'm like, yes, I'm in. Wherever we want to go, I'm going to be there. And I know there's a massive event. And for those of you not here, I mean, in one of the centers, so you can see people walking by. They really are people here. But the opportunity to meet and to connect and to get to know each other. Like Rock said, I've got to meet several clients I've been working with since I was here last as a regular employee, now doing my own thing in my company. To see people, they're like, oh, there you are. And here I am. And not just a little 2-inch person on Zoom, but like a connection or maybe share a meal or an adult beverage together. This idea to be connected has been so rewarding, totally worth coming and being a part of that. And it was very unexpected. I came ready to learn, to be inspired, and go back a better security leader. And I think I'm a better person because of connections like what Rock described.
I have to say that all the conversation we had, from the one that were a little bit more business oriented, or the one that were a little bit more about updates on what's going on there, everybody talk about being human and the need for this connection. And I love that, because we've been talking about this for many years now, how cybersecurity needs to be more human, more understandable, so that we can share, we can understand the business. And I know that you guys have so many conversations with Sean about the business of security and how we need to be all together in this, and it's not just the easy button. So have you participated to some conversation there, some presentation that actually do talk about this? Did you feel this in the overall conversation holes that you've been maybe part of?
I would say, like, some of the themes of the sessions that I've been seeing, or that I was able to attend, right? There's definitely a more of a political presence here, I think, than normal years. So trying to foster those private-public partnerships. CISA is leaning in hard, trying to, start to lead from the front versus, kind of always being like the Johnny come lately, right? Giving us information that's old. They've done a really good job, really, since the Ukraine crisis, of leading from the front, and they have a heavy presence here. And then a lot of talks about just diversity, essentially, like you're saying, Marco, the human element, diversity in the industry, diversity of whether it be gender diversity, cognitive diversity, whatever the case may be, the importance of diversity in the industry. Russell, I don't know what kind of themes that you've been seeing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And then just whether you find a speaker that you always go to, or a talk that you always lean into, or maybe actually going to see people speak for the first time and see what's their topic, what they're sharing on a big stage. Those have been my bookmarks or bookends to kind of go to some really big ones and go to some small ones and say, ooh, what's the takeaway? What's something that I could not just have information in my head about, but maybe application, actually doing something because of what someone has shared or caused me to think about it in a different way. And I think just that diversity of stage has been actually my experience literally yesterday. And I'm sure I'm going to go through with that again today, of somebody I know and somebody I don't know. And what can they teach me? How can I get wisdom as cheaply as I possibly can while being here amongst a lot of great people?
Yeah, and Rock, you mentioned CISA and Alyssa Miller, host of Securing Bridges podcast here. She actually had a chance to chat with Jen Easterly yesterday. It was a fantastic conversation, and Jen mentioned some of the programs she's working on and her team's working on, and one of the big ones that I latched onto is the idea of mentorship and internships and things like that. And I'm just wondering, and I know a lot of the people on her team or in that group are members of the community that we all know and love. People who speak at RSA conference and lead organizations that are nonprofits trying to help the community be better at cybersecurity. So I guess my question to you is, in addition to just CISA's presence, what's the general audience like? Do you see more public sector figures there? I guess the idea of mentorship and helping each other out. Are you feeling any of that this week?
I think I definitely got into the feeling of collaboration, right? And whether that be mentorship, helping people out. I met a young individual who was in the sophomore year of college at one of our friends' Lazarus dinners. That somebody was able to bring along, and he was just kind of like taken almost starstruck that he had never attended anything like that before, and it's like just dinner, right? So just being able to talk to him and mentor him and just kind of talk to him about what his career path is like. Seen a lot of that here. Like, again, going back to the human element, you go to the show floor, and the show floor has got way too much letters, XDR, ADR, MDR, EDR, all the DRs, right? But you take a step away, and there's not so much of the hustle and bustle, I felt, of trying to get from point A to point B. There were legitimately great hallway conversations happening. People kind of took a step back, slowed down, smell the roses type of thing. And definitely more of a collaborative community spirit, if you will, this year, I think, than other years, which had traditionally been, RSA, 50,000 people. You got to, pack in as many meetings as you possibly can in a given day and go see vendors and partners and all that. So that's what I enjoyed about it.
Nice. And you gave the alphabet soup there, and you didn't say ZTN, which we heard on another one of these live streams. And so, Russell, I'm wondering, I don't want to poke fun at all the acronyms, but I'm just wondering that there's the marketing pitches, right, where those are necessary to help people get awareness and then perhaps even begin to have some conversation with their C-level peers and perhaps the board. But it can't stop there. You have to break down the conversation and change it, as Marco pointed out, into the business of security, right? How does security enable the business to do what it does? I'm just wondering if you've had any notable conversations, and I'm not asking for anything that's Chatham House rules exposed here, but just anything of note that you say the theme for the RSA this year is transform. Are we transforming the conversation? Anything to share on that front?
I hope so. And on some other conversations with peers and on other conversations just like this and other forums, this idea of how can we as security leaders become able to speak another language? How can we be bilingual? How can we not speak German or Dutch or Portuguese or Spanish? There's a diversity of language, but be able to have us as security leaders be able to speak the language of business. Our CFO is never going to learn APTs and all our acronyms that they're common to us because it's our insider language. We're going to have to say, and here's how security contributes to that. For me, a hack, I say it all the time. Y'all have heard me countless times, this idea of, what's the mission of the company I'm privileged to work at? I can go find it. I can go to the internet and figure it out, or maybe I need a tattoo for the mission so that I can say, okay, the reason my company's here is, and really, if I think about it, the reason my security team that I'm privileged to lead, the reason they're here is not for cyber's sake. Very few companies exist because of cyber. Companies exist because they have a mission. The mission says they're going to deliver something or add value. So how can we have that language to make it easier for people that they just don't understand us, and they shouldn't have to understand us. We need to understand them. Doing that and framing it into the reason my company exists is the reason I'm doing the things I'm doing. And then subtasks can be policy and APT and all the acronym soup that you referred to. So that to me is exciting and continues to be this idea of how we can lean into helping people get us in a more meaningful way.
Rock, I know that you actually co-wrote a book about that, and this is a conversation we've been having for a long time. Are we getting better in making this translation? Is it something that you think even maybe the new generation needs to be brought in from, I don't know, different background and then get into technology instead of maybe the other way around? I don't know if there is a shortcut. I know the cultural change required times, but maybe a few tips that both of you could kind of see as a quicker fix.
Yeah, I don't think there's a shortcut, but there's certainly some business acumen, business fundamentals that you can go out and learn, and like you don't need an MBA to do. And thank you, Marco, for mentioning the book. That was kind of the mission of the book. But I do see the next generation coming from a much different background and different career path than say Russell and I did. And I am seeing more developers get into security because, you know, for AppSec or SDLC security, I am seeing more students with engineering backgrounds getting into the industry, accounting backgrounds getting into the industry on the GRC side, you know, former law enforcement. So I am starting to see a lot of that, and I think we have to focus on that. Where can we expand the talent pool when we're, you know, when we're seeing that we have all these job shortages across cybersecurity? Well, then let's make the talent pool, let's make the pool bigger. And so I think we're getting there. Like you said, Marco, it's going to take time because we have to work with HR to get rid of the ridiculous entry-level security analyst, 5 years of experience in a CISSP, right? So it's going to take time to get through that, but I do see progress there.
Yeah, and I'll say, yeah, you mentioned HR. Some of my best hires when I was at the Atlanta Fed, up until a couple years ago when I went on my own, I found that people in HR, especially recruiters, they're excellent communicators. That's what they do. That's what they get paid to do. And there was the person who recruited me to join the Fed back in 2015 when I did that. Fantastic. He became a friend. He's like, I'm kind of bummed out on my job. I think I'm going to find another job. I just don't want to do this anymore. But you know what? You have a skill. You know things. You know people. People know you. They know, like, trust you. What if we spent some time together, and we did, to get him positioned for being a viable candidate for the GRC team, who they're much more comfortable playing on the keyboard than they are an in-person conversation. So while he learned 853 and all the other things that come with that, he taught the same team he was a junior member of how to connect and go to people and how are you doing and how can I help you understand things that maybe have just not been able to happen before. And so that a way to not just say you have to start over or start at the bottom, but what skills from, like Rock said, law enforcement or HR or programmers or something that they do that could be applicable where they can have a speed ramp to get onto cyber. This idea of, you can hire character and you can train skills. So I sent Herb to cyber school. He learned cyber things and he may be running the security team someday. And I hope he does. But the company almost lost him and the team almost lost him. But now he's just going to do great because of what he had and his unique contribution that no one else had that skill. And so looking for people who maybe they need to do something else or they're curious, hang out with them, let them hang out with you, job shadowing, a lot of opportunities for people to be invited to take a glimpse and say, do you want a little bit more than a glimpse? Yes or no? And then see where it takes you. I think there's so much opportunity to help fill the skills gap and talent gap right now by looking in sometimes non-traditional security and IT places.
Yeah, I'm glad you went there because those are those soft skills that I always say they're not soft at all. They're actually the backbone of teams and leadership and companies because they are made of people. So,
yeah,
Sean,
right there with that. We had a couple conversations yesterday, and one with Rick McElroy, our good friend, and he mentioned that and I mentioned this to you, Rock, before we started recording that while we have a memory of conferences a couple years ago, we haven't been doing them for 2 years, right? So the getting up early and having breakfast meetings, and then being on the show floor all day and having conversations, and then having dinner meetings and after dinner parties, that's a lot of on time that we haven't prepared for. And the reason I'm bringing that up is mental health and the health of our employees is paramount. And I know we also spoke to Chloe, who did, I think, 3 or 4 sessions this week at RSA conference talking about this very topic. And part of that, going back to the very beginning, is taking time to take care of yourself. And maybe just the final word from each of you, something you did this week in the spirit of lean CISOs that helped you stay grounded as you entered this world of in-person events again. Maybe
I got a lot of sleep.
Oh, okay. Rock,
I got a lot of sleep. I made sure to get back to I was back in my room by 8, 9 o'clock just about every night, and just made sure I've had a busy month, so this was almost the opportunity to unwind in that regard and take the opportunity to just like shut the blinds and get some sleep.
And for me, I went into bed early the first night, but the next morning woke up, and several of us in the lean CISO group looking at something. Some of us actually went out on a run that morning to just get together and exercise, see the city, breathe some fresh air. And I think that opportunity, and nobody was chasing us. So there was a lot of time to just connect and do something non-cyber related here at RSA.
Wow, really cool. Yeah.
And I saw.
You guys need a Peloton group
post with pictures, which some cool treks taken the week as well. So
do some like the lean CISO meeting. You could do it on a Peloton or on a treadmill, and so that you have this conversation. You get even your stamina higher.
Yeah, but you want us to be able to talk too at the same time, right? Instead of being on the Peloton.
That's the point. If you can run and talk, you're good.
That's
you're in
very, very
good
controlled. Yeah, exactly.
You can eat, you can talk and eat. So when you use the dinner meetings. All right, we got to wrap this up.
You brought
Sean.
it to food. I'm grateful always when you bring it back.
I haven't had breakfast yet, so talking about lean.
But I do have to thank you both for taking the time to spend with us this morning. Hopefully it's a good final day at the conference, RSA conference, and have those conversations, make those connections, take care of yourself. And thanks, Russell and Rock.
You too. Be well.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you in person soon. Bye.
See you.